Hi there, you're at the Ethereum Wyckoff technical analysis session. We'll quickly take a look at both weekly and daily time frame and see where Ethereum price is going and whether there's still room for it to go further up. So in the weekly chart, what we're seeing here is basically the upward channel, this light blue box. While the price is still within this box, this long wick here signals pretty strong selling from above. That's around 4,800. That's the mark from this upthrust back in 2021. So back in 2021, the peak was set here at with the upthrust. So the high point was about 4,875. Yeah. Just roughly about that, and currently we almost touched that point, but once it got there were quite significant selling. I'm not sure whether there are some diamond hands holding for like 4-ish, almost 5 years. They bought around this time, and then the price went down so quickly that they might as well like hold it for a while, thinking Ethereum may come back in a short time. But once the wait started, it waited for like almost 5 years time. It's 1,365 days. So then they sell at this point because this cycle eventually finally arrived this point. And here this green tall volume bar, don't be mistaken, it's a good sign because of this long wick here. That means a lot of selling happened even though the candlestick is green. So maybe some whales has basically distributed a lot of stocks, a lot of Ethereum to whoever FOMO in. So that can be one explanation, so be cautious about it. So last time we did not touch on these yellow tags. When I look at the chart again, it triggers me to think of an alternative scenario, an alternative distribution scenario. What happens during the period from mid-July to early August may be in the yellow scenario. That's the PSY, preliminary supply, instead of the buying climax happening in mid-July. And I'll still keep this over here, but with question marks, because we don't know which scenario it is as of this moment. So whether it's the buying climax that happened this week, or is it the upthrust, there's no definite answer as of this moment. But one thing that's clear is the selling force over here is very strong. So either case, there is a chance for the price to come back to test the purple level. So the tricky part here is, if this light blue box is like a macro trend that started since April, then this trend is likely going to be tested, because when the price comes down, there's not much room for the price to maneuver before it has to confirm that the uptrend is going to continue. Because if it happens, well, this week, there's only 1 day, 22 hours left. If it happens over the weekend that the price comes down to test the purple or even the blue key level, it's still fine because it's still within this upward channel box. If it's next week, then the only one it can test, only key level it can test is the purple, because if it comes down below the purple, it has to stay above the upward channel box in order to continue the uptrend. Otherwise, if it falls outside of this box, that means the uptrend may be over. So that's probably not a signal that the whales, or whoever the bull whales, let me put it this way, whoever want to push the price further up they wouldn't want to see the price to drop outside of this channel box. So that's the backdrop, the macro view. If we go to the daily chart to look at the micro view, last week we put in these tags. I have only updated this AR2 just not to confuse people with the automatic reaction, because according to the Wyckoff textbook definitions, there's no such thing as AR after the alphas or alphas of the distribution. But I want to say after a peak, it's normal for something like that to happen, and I want to have a name that's close enough but still allows you to differentiate. That's why I put it in AR2. So if, like we discussed before, looks like now that this yellow scenario has happened, so the red probably wasn't the correct way to read the daily chart, because it's very noisy and it shows pattern that looks similar to the Wyckoff standard scenario. But if you understand, or if you analyze sufficient charts, you see during the PSY levels it's normal that there are fluctuations. So just that this fluctuation has lasted for like 2 months. So here, while the yellow scenario seems to be more the case, now if this is really the upwards of the distribution and the price is coming down, also signaled by these tall red volume bars over here, because these bars, especially the one on Thursday, the 14th, there's no bar as high as that one since April. So the beginning of April, well, actually, you know what? Started from February, there was one green that's very tall, but then later on there's only red bars. Anyways, just looking at the past 2 months, these selling is significant compared to the buying volumes. These two, hopefully it's not retail falling in. You can cross-check with other sources. There are indications whether the volumes are from retail. Then here, if it really comes down, first, like I already said, it has to test the 3940 support level, this key level over here. And before testing the blue, it has to confirm this upward channel box bottom, whether there's still sufficient support over here. So it can happen in a way that even if it breaks the purple, it can rebound from here and show us an LPSY, that lower peak, and then eventually it may be something like this or just coming down. So this yellow level, I've put in the sign of weakness tag over here. So that's where the price, when the price comes down, it's a level where the two previous sign of weaknesses were back in late May and late June. So here, these key levels and stages, we would be able to see in a very short period of time. So right now is the 16th. If I move across to this little crossover here, end of the month exactly, so by the time the price comes to here, it has to confirm whether it's continuing with the uptrend by the end of August. So when September starts, the price has to show where it is going. Is it still going along with the channel box, or is it going to just find support and then the channel box bottom becomes the resistance line? So I think, in summary, whether it's the yellow or blue scenario, it's natural for the price to come down to find support at the key level and then retest. Just that if that happens, that means in the daily time frame that will come down for a sign of weakness before any significant rebound appears. While here in the weekly chart, that if it really happens to come down to show us a sign of weakness, let me put it right over here as well, then it doesn't mean the entire distribution is over, just that it's getting more riskier if it really comes down for a sign of weakness, because it will fluctuate along the line between the blue, or like above the blue but around the purple. So expect more fluctuations coming in. If I quickly check the Bollinger Band current squeeze, currently there's no squeeze, but you can see these lines are very wide, so it can bounce between these. So like the light blue level is totally possible. So that's 3,200. That's why a potential sign of weakness may happen around that range. And I think that's pretty much sum up where Ethereum is at the moment. So while it may have touched where the all-time high was, the selling volume recently isn't very supportive for the bulls, but it's not like killing everything, because the charts are still showing it within the uptrend, so it's still a tight battle between the bulls and the bears. And while there's no squeeze yet, one happened earlier, it doesn't mean they can't immediately just bounce back from the top, the channel top. So stay vigilant about what's going to happen, especially when it comes down to test these levels, because once it broke through to the downside, it may test multiple levels, starting from the 3,500 and then eventually 3,002. Worst case scenario is 2002. So those can still happen. So finger crossed. Good luck, whether you're a bull or a bear, always.